Hello everyone and welcome back to Xbox Nation. My name is Fletcher and this is the video where we take a look at the upcoming Xbox and Game Pass games for this week and to see if any of them are really worth your time and or money. This week is certainly a little bit quieter in terms of the amount of games releasing, however that's certainly not a bad thing as these are some pretty huge titles. As they say, quality over quantity. So with that, let's dive right into the games coming our way for this week. First up, we have a game landing straight onto Xbox Game Pass as of the 2nd of February, and it looks like to be a decent start of the week with Indika. This game received some very high praise in some circles out there, but it really failed to skim the surface in an industry that's been teeming with brand new horror IPs, and obviously some anticipated legacy sequels from one of the most iconic horror franchises. Now, with Indika finally coming to Xbox Game Pass, you will get a chance to finally experience it, and I for one cannot wait to finally try it out. Apparently, this one gets very bizarre, surreal, and also funny, but at the same time incredibly scary. It's then rolled into a sort of religious, self-reflective pilgrimage that is charmingly poignant in an alternative 19th century Russia, and it's all complete with 2D pixel art minigames complementing Indika's normally photorealistic visuals. It's reviewed incredibly well across the board since its initial release, and it's a great start to the week if you're a Game Pass subscriber. On Tuesday, we have another Xbox Game Pass edition in Final Fantasy II, and is a lovely follow-up to the first Pixel remaster that we've already received onto the service in January. This of course is an updated version of the game, so you can expect some renewed 2D pixel graphics, as well as a rearranged version of the soundtrack. What's more is this game also comes with a series of gameplay improvements, like a modernized UI and also an auto battle feature that could help you get past the grinding. If you want a brief rundown of the story, it essentially follows 4 young heroes who join forces to topple the ruthless Palamencian Empire. To me personally, the game is far from being one of the best Final Fantasy titles out there, but it's still a remarkable tale that's totally worth exploring. It is worth noting though that we will get some more Xbox Game Pass news this Tuesday as well, and I will be making a video covering all of the news, and the best way not to miss that is with a subscription down below. So make sure to hit that button as it supports and really helps out a ton. But moving on, we have a huge game coming from Square Enix. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined finally lands on the 5th of Feb, and this is a full modern reworking of the classic Dragon Quest VII Fragments of the Forgotten Past from the early 2000s. This is going to be a huge standalone JRPG adventure that's really focused on saving a fractured world, now rebuilt with a gorgeous handcrafted art style that genuinely makes it feel like a playable storybook. It's an entry that I've personally never experienced before, but after getting deeper dives into Dragon Quest over the past couple of years, this feels like the perfect time for all of us newcomers to jump in as well. Longtime fans will obviously appreciate that faithfulness, whilst us newcomers will benefit from a wave of quality of life improvements, including a redesigned UI that makes navigating systems far smoother than we've ever seen before. That accessibility was always a sticking point back in the day as well, so if you're a JRPG fan who loves long-form storytelling, classic turn-based combat, and then charming worlds, this is going to be absolutely one upon your radar for this week. I have seen PC Game Pass absolutely rise up in popularity over the past year, and we've also received many PC-only titles, and that is really set to continue into 2026. MENACE is the first title this year for that service, and it lands very soon into PC Game Preview, and it's a strategy title that is very reminiscent of the likes of XCOM but sprinkled in with a lovely flavour of Command & Conquer. It's a turn-based tactics game set in a brutal future war where you're constantly outmatched and every decision feels like it's a spiral into utter disaster. What really actually had me more interested in this one though is the real focus on emergent storytelling, as the missions are said to not exist in isolation, and instead your wider campaign evolves based on how the war is going and how your squad leaders perform, and that's all complete with their own personalities and even backstories. That kind of systematic narrative stuff is always my weakness these days. It's also being published by Hooded Horse, and they're the same publisher behind Manor Lords, so I have no doubt this is going to be another strategy hit onto Xbox Game Pass. I won't lie, I've never seen My Hero Academia, as I'm really not an anime fan, but I do know that the My Hero games are insanely popular, and they do garner a very dedicated community. Well, My Hero Academia All's Justice finally launches towards the end of this week on the 6th of Feb, and upon doing some research, it looks like a pretty decent game with quite a good amount of content with it. This is a fast-paced 3v3 arena fighter that lets you relive the final war between heroes and villains from a fresh cinematic angle. The combat is going to be built around a refined battle system where mastering quirks, team synergies, and character switching will really be key, especially when activating the powerful Rising State. I mentioned the content, and yes, the roster is going to be utterly huge, covering Class 1A, pro heroes, and even iconic villains in their final full-powered forms. There's also a story-driven team-up mission mode that lets you experience hero life at UA High in a virtual training space. If you're a My Hero fan, this one looks like a proper victory lap for this week. Dark Quest Remastered is one that I've personally never even heard of before, but it might have been somewhat popular as they are finally bringing it back. This is a classic turn-based dungeon crawler which is coming to consoles for the very first time and then fully updated as well with improved visuals and refined gameplay. The story looks to center around a dark sorcerer who has risen, building a dungeon beneath the village of Darkwood. From this stronghold, his minions raid nearby lands, spreading terror and death, so you'll need to lead a party of heroes into those depths to then battle deadly enemies in tactical grid-based battles. The devs have stated it is inspired by classic board games and some very old school RPGs, so if you like strategic turn-based combat with meaningful choices and a timeless fantasy atmosphere, then put this indie on your radar. My own personal highlight for this entire week has to be Carmageddon Rogue Shift, and I cannot wait for this one to finally arrive onto my Xbox. It's been a whopping 10 years now since we received a Carmageddon game, and it's almost been 30 years since the original in 1997. God, I feel really old. This newest entry though is coming from a brand new developer, and they've had experience in making the Redout games, and if you've had a chance to try those, they were some fantastic Wipeout-like experiences. This is to reveal though, about a year ago or so, we've actually had some decent looks at it now, with this reimagined take on the classic car combat series, but what's interesting is it's introducing some roguelike elements which we've never seen before. Essentially, you're going to have to try and survive some chaotic races with opponents attempting to destroy you, and each campaign will then feature branching paths, increasing difficulty choices, and also changing weapon conditions. It could certainly be a great fit for this game, but we'll just have to wait and see how it fares when it finally arrives onto our Xboxes on the 7th of February. It is worth noting we do have a couple of large updates which are also landing this week, or are out now, with the first being the brand new Helldivers 2 war bond called Siegebreakers, and this is set to land on the 3rd. The aptly named Siegebreakers though is all about making a loud and destructive entrance this time around, kicking things off with a brand new primary weapon called the Last 16 Trident, which is an updated take on an existing weapon within the game. However, this version now fires 6 laser beams in a shotgun-like fashion, doubling the amount of firepower when compared to the original. There is also the GSH-39 shield, which is a throwable that then generates a barrier for blocking enemy projectiles. It seems like an overall decent warbond though, but if you're still playing Helldivers 2, let me know your thoughts in this one on the comments below. In case you missed it as well, a massive update called Toxic Tangle has finally arrived for Grounded 2, and it arrived last week, and it seems to have gone massively under the radar, and this is quite a shame as this update is pretty huge. This new edition expands the Brook Hollow Park map with a new garden for you to explore, alongside more bugs to fight, and it then provides players with plenty of new items to craft. The largest highlight of course is going to be that new biome, which is called the Garden Patch, and this adds a pumpkin patch, a carrot jungle, more labs, and even more areas for you to explore. Within this new biome is the ability to unlock the game's newest mount as well, which is the Ladybug Buggy. There are some other bits as well which I've chucked up on screen for you now, but I tell you what, it's great seeing so much content added to this game on a regular basis. Grounded 2 is certainly not going to be slowing down. I wouldn't be surprised if we get the 1.0 launch this year, and the update is free right now for all Xbox Game Pass and Grounded 2 game owners. The 9th Charnel has now finally landed onto Xbox, and this is a first-person horror action game with a focus on stealth, combat, and exploration. According to the blurb, because I haven't really got any idea about what this game is, the story follows Michael alongside his colleagues Sarah Whitlock and Daniel J. Hart, who then become stranded in a remote valley while conducting field research near a wildlife sanctuary. Cut off from safety and separated from his team, Michael's search for his friends soon spirals into darkness, where fanatical cults, forgotten rituals, and malignant forces finally conjure a nightmare with no escape. I've had to look to see if there's actually any reviews on this one, but there doesn't seem to be any right now, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint if this is going to be any good. Regardless, it now has landed on the Xbox right now, but I might suggest that you hold off on this one for a few reviews before diving into it. One game I also wanted to highlight which shadow dropped onto Xbox last week and has since gone heavily under the radar is called Crosak. Yes, your eyes aren't deceiving you. This game is made of Play-Doh. You basically step into the role of a true caveman and then head out in search of adventure. The game will then be taking you through several freely explorable open worlds, each with its own distinct theme, and you'll need to overcome the challenges and all the different minigames. You may call me a little bit crazy, but I really wanted to highlight this today as it isn't just another open world platformer. It's a real bold multi-gravity experiment that's been wrapped in a sort of charming Play-Doh aesthetic, and we never see games bringing such unique takes like this in 2026. Reviews have been insanely positive as well from the few reviewers out there, and the fact you get over 60 missions and 6 open worlds for that price tag is less than most indies on the market, and it's just totally absurd. I do hope it gets more eyes on it with me mentioning this week, as it's a true indie hidden gem on the Xbox library. What do you think though? Are there any games that pique your interest for this week? Do let me know down below, and make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Make sure to also subscribe as well for more Xbox content on a daily basis, and do check out the video on screen now if you want to check check out the huge Xbox UI update and also the news that did occur over the past week.